Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about starter ships and have a sort of starter ship shootout. And I think this is a very interesting conversation to have now that the Golem has been added to the starter ship roster. Now, as you guys know, starter ships are or have not always been the best value in the game. It is almost as if, you get a starter ship and inevitably have to upgrade. They're not end game, they're not designed to be end game, they're just a way for you to kind of dip your feet into the water. So that leaves players with a very interesting value proposition here, because this is the ship that is primarily tied to your account. Now, I want to go over some of the starter ships that I think make for good value that many players recommend for different price points for new players coming into the game for the first time. And then I want to talk about how that's going to work with ships like the Golem coming into the picture. Now, the ships that I have here, again, these are ships that I think the community typically recommends to new players who are joining the game: the Mustang Alpha, the Cutter, the Avenger Titan, and now I would say the Golem. And I'm adding the Golem to this list because it suits a different audience. Now, I got a lot of comments on my last video about the Golem, people saying that it was not something that you should buy with real money, this, that, and the other. And I understand that point of reference if you are a player who has a lot of ships on their account, or if you are a player that has a lot of different ship options, right? There are a lot of us who have been playing Star Citizen for a long time. A lot of viewers of this channel are long-time backers, and they already kind of have their fleet set in stone. They kind of know what gameplay they're interested in. But if you're a new player, I think it leaves a very different conversation. If you're looking for your very first ship to start playing the game, I think the Golem actually represents a market of the audience that has been traditionally underserved. And what I mean by that is kind of starter ships play a kind of multi-role capacity, right? There are some starter ships that have a little bit more specialization. Many starter ships actually have variants like the 100i, the 300i, the Aurora series, and so on. But these variants don't really offer a massive difference in value amongst them. Now, you could kind of say it's a different conversation with the Cutter Scout, because that is a dedicated scanning ship, but that ship's gameplay is not really in the game yet. And again, I compared that ship to the Terrapin, which is vastly more expensive, and they have very comparable size and components, the major difference being the Terrapin's armor. So the Cutter Scout is actually a pretty good value for what it's intended to offer, even though that gameplay is not in the game yet. The Golem is a different story because the Golem's gameplay is in the game right now. So for someone who's interested in industrial gameplay, the Golem is kind of really the only option. Now you look at something like the Mustang Alpha, which I would say is the recommended ship if you want to get into Star Citizen for the cheapest price possibly. I really wouldn't take the Aurora too seriously because it does have some limitations. At the end of the day, it's not a bad ship, but in comparison, it doesn't have the same combat prowess that the Mustang Alpha does have. And the Mustang Alpha is coming in at $45, right? And so then a $15 difference between the Alpha is going to be the Cutter. Now, the Cutter has that better interior ability to put ground vehicles inside the back cargo area. It was made much later than the Mustang Alpha, so it also has that more modern quality standard that you can expect from ships today, right? So the Cutter is a great daily driver, but it's one of those ships that I feel like is a jack of all trades and a master of none. Strictly speaking, I would say it's a bit worse than the Mustang Alpha in combat because it doesn't have the maneuverability that you would want from a ship this size. It does have more cargo capacity, I would say, or the ability to carry ground vehicles and different things than the Mustang Alpha, because the Mustang Alpha just has a cargo box that is often riddled with bugs and is problematic or can be problematic, right? So I would say that strictly speaking, the cutter is pretty good as a daily driver, but I would say for a starting player as their first primary and only ship, it doesn't really excel at any of the gameplay loops that you're really gonna want to dive into to start making money. So I feel like if you're a new player and you have no other ships, if you get a cutter, you might not be able to experience the game in the way that you expect or see on videos. I know a lot of people who have ships like this, they generally get invited by other players to do different gameplay loops, and that's when they start saying, hey, I finally see what this game is all about and why people like it so much, and that's when they invest in getting a better ship. I see it often on Reddit. People will post things on Reddit basically saying that they kind of wrote off this game. They didn't think that it was good, and then someone with a bigger ship or whatever invited them to go and do different gameplay, and they saw how emergent the different gameplay loops were, and that's when they really start getting it. And I'm not saying, I don't want to make it seem like in this video I'm saying you need a bigger, better ship to enjoy Star Citizen. That's not the point of this video, but the point of this video is to kind of take the use case of a starter ship into account when you're picking what you want to do in this game, because I feel like the gameplay loops are becoming more mature and we're starting to see what the finished game is supposed to be like, right? So then we move on to the Avenger, and here is where things get a little bit more interesting. Again, another $15 jump in price to $75. Now, often the Avenger is on sale, and if you can get it on sale, or all the prices we're going to talk about today are the starter packs that are not on sale. My personal recommendation is to not even consider buying Star Citizen unless you're going into some kind of sale, after some kind of free flight, or if there's some kind of referral bonus promotion going on. Because if there's a referral bonus promotion going on, more likely you can get like a hover bike or extra armor or something like that on top of the discounted game price, right? So not only will you get the ship cheaper, but you will often get another subsequent ship along with that, with lifetime insurance or something like that. So if you're looking to get into the game, that is, in my opinion, the best time to do it. Again, CIG is always having sales, so uh, these prices here are just kind of representatives of the values of these ships in that scenario, right? On the non-sale scenario. So the Avenger Titan is kind of a different story because it does excel at combat. In fact, there was a point where the Avenger Titan was the combat meta over ships like the Gladius and even the Arrow, right? Because the Avenger is very capable in terms of maneuverability and weaponry. With 2 size 3s and 1 size 4, you can do pretty good damage with this ship. Top of that, it has the ability to carry a ground vehicle, a hover bike, that type of thing. It also has a bed to log out in. It has 2 entrance and exits. You can leave through the cockpit or through the ramp at the back. So this ship has a lot going for it. Now, it's an older ship, so it's not up to date fully with the modern metrics, with components and that type of stuff. But because it's so small, it's not really too much at a risk to, being outdated from that standpoint. Now, again, at $75, you kind of know that this is the combat ship. So even though I would say that this is the best starter ship, if you're not interested in combat, then how good of a moneymaker this ship is going to be to you is still a bit questionable, right? You'll get out in this ship, you might take it to do box missions. It's not super great at the cargo mission type stuff. And then if you go out and you try to do, the AI combat stuff, then you'll start to see that, okay, do I enjoy this gameplay? Do I not enjoy this gameplay? And that's when you'll kind of decide if the game is for you. And a lot of people will kind of leave it at that, right? So I think the Golem is a good proposition for those players who are interested in a space simulation game but are not interested in combat, because the Golem is strictly industrial. It's not going to be a good combat ship. Has all size 1 components, size 1 weapons. Even the cutter has size 2 weapons, right? But it's a small package. It doesn't have a bed to log out in either. But as a small package, I would say that a player who is not interested in combat can actually make money with this ship, right? Kind of unlike the cutter here, if you're not interested in combat, which the cutter can't really do, you making money is kind of going to be dependent on a lot of the on-foot contracts, right? And if that's not the gameplay that you're interested in, if you are interested in solely industrial gameplay, then the cut is going to feel a little bit lackluster, right? You're going to kind of put the game down more often than you might have initially anticipated. But again, with the Golem, you can go out there just basically every night after work or something like that and make some money, right? You can go out looking for rocks, going mining, and making a little bit of money here and there, and kind of understanding what the gameplay is. And then once you start making money, you can start buying ships, right? So you can get an Avenger Titan, you can get whatever ship you want to when you start making money in this game. And I feel like that's kind of going to be the big barrier of entry for a lot of starting players, is that they're not going to have, again, if you're on PTU, you have $15 million, you don't care. That's why a lot of people like to play on PTU, because not just there are less consequences, it's that you have a lot more freedom to kind of do whatever you want. Where on live, you're playing with your own money, and you have to really get into the gameplay to start earning. Once you get into the gameplay, a lot of people start earning very quickly, and it kind of becomes second nature. But I kind of say it's kind of like you making your first million. That hurdle to making your first million in Star Citizen, it's where a lot of people kind of drop the game. Once you make your first million, I feel like a lot more people after that point kind of become more regular players, more steady players. They play the game more regularly because they kind of get into the groove. They understand what they have to do to make money, and they can make money more efficiently. And then once you have that money, you can do whatever you want. You can buy whatever ships you want. You can pay whatever fine you need to pay for it, get armor, gear, that type of thing, right? And so then your only problem is, okay, I have money, I have the ships I want. Is it going to be boring? But because I think CIG is focusing more on content, those players who have broken the 1 million barrier, they kind of have more stuff to do now. So now CIG really needs to tap into those players who haven't broken that 1 million barrier and have dropped the game because they can't make any money, they can't get anything done, they can't leave an elevator, that type of thing. You need to get them interested in the game. You need to kind of give them that hope that here's this thing where they can actually start making money. And I think the Golem is going to be that shift for a lot of people. Again, if you're a player, you have a big account with a lot of ships, the Golem doesn't matter to you, right? You can choose the Prospect, you can choose the Vulture, you can make money however you want to make money. But I feel like if you're only going to have one ship, and again, the Golem does not have a bed to log out in, it's not designed for that. You're more than likely just going to stay in Stanton. And, this is for somebody who, they want to take that industrial track. They want to take a different approach. And that's why I think the marketing for the Golem was so good, because you see the guy, he's there, he's mining. there's Polaris in the background, there's explosions going on, people at war, and he's just minding his own business, mining. I feel like that's the kind of player the Golem really suits best. And now that I've had some time to fly around with the ship and kind of get into the groove of it, I really like the ship. I think, even as a player that has, different ships in his fleet, this is a ship that I'm going to keep around because I think it has a use for me and my fleet. I can throw it on a Polaris. It's small enough to do that, to take around with me. It's pretty capable when it comes to mining. And there's no fluff about it, right? You just go in, you mine, you take your resources, you sell it. I do appreciate that. And I think that a lot of other people are too. Right now, again, the ship is on sale with lifetime insurance. So a new player getting into the game is really going to want to look at the Golem seriously if you are interested in industrial gameplay. If you are not a combat player, an FPS player, you're not interested in Star Citizen for dogfighting, but you're kind of interested in Star Citizen for the space simulation aspect of it, I think the Golem is a good investment because you can make money to buy other ships. And that, I feel like, is the real hurdle with Star Citizen and new players is, again, like I spoke about earlier, breaking that 1 million UEC kind of ceiling there. Once you break that 1 million UEC ceiling, you make your first million, then the game becomes a lot more exciting for you. So I want to know what you guys think in terms of starter ships. What are your recommendations? What starter ship got you into Star Citizen? How long did it take you to make your first million? What are your recommendations for new players coming into this game? If you are a new player to Star Citizen and you're thinking about checking out the game, I have my referral code link in the video description. You guys can check that out if you want to. It gives you more starting money and it helps me out a little bit too. So thanks for watching this video. I love talking to you guys in the comments, but that's going to be it for me in this one. Like I always say at the end of these videos, you guys, like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Salut!